Welcome once more to Njenje Media TV. My name is Maazi Ezeoke. Nigeria at 61 series, a conversation with Professor Kingsley Moghalu. Many of you who are Nigerians and global citizens obviously will know the fine gentleman that I'm about to speak to. A sound political economist. He is interested in the 2023 presidential election. He is a lawyer. He is an author. I fondly and I so much love his title name called Ifekaego of Nnewi Kingdom. He was, or rather say, a former United Nations official, former deputy CBN governor, and a politician. I have the honor to bring in Professor Kingsley Moghalu to Njenje Media Studio. Professor, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Maazi. Good to be with you.
Thank you very much. I am aware that, time is of essence and we will quickly start.
Yes.
Prof, everywhere, as you know, many people are, it's for the first time that I'm actually noticing this, that a nation like ours is having an independent celebration, quote unquote, what ought to be a celebration of being free from the colonial masters. But rather than people to celebrate, people are protesting. Now, as part of this series where I invited you, Nigeria at 61. Prof, what is your candid take on Nigeria after 61 years of independence? What's your take?
Well, my take is quite it's quite clear. It's very obvious that Nigeria has failed to live up to its promise 61 years ago, when we were at par with countries like Malaysia, Singapore, and a few other countries. We were ahead of Thailand, but today many of those countries have gone way beyond where Nigeria is, and Nigeria is not even playing catch up. There was a projection in 1960 that Nigeria could grow to be like Japan and possibly overtake Japan. That sounds like a fairy tale today from what we know. So Nigeria has failed to live up to its promise. It's a huge disappointment to millions of its citizens because of problems of leadership, problems of absence of real sense of nationhood, no unity. So it's a physical place, but it's not a nation in spirit, because we don't have a unified vision of where we're going and how we want to get there. To use a delicate word, or to use a sophisticated word, which is called a worldview. There is no national worldview, because we haven't had in recent years the kinds of leaders that can frame such a worldview and manufacture consensus among Nigerians about the things that unite us. And instead, we focus a lot on the things that divide us. And it's not just that we are suffering from very basic dysfunctions, like, security problems. Your life is, the lives of most Nigerians today is cheaper than the Naira to the dollar. Nigeria today is so-called poverty capital of the world. We have democracy, but it's just all about rigging of elections. And terrorism besets the land. So it's not a good story. Let us be honest with ourselves. I don't want to come here to say that I'm happy. No, I am unhappy. And I think it's unhappy independence anniversary for Nigeria, for me, at 61 years of age. I had great expectations for my country, but unfortunately, and of my country, but unfortunately, Nigeria has not lived up to it. And I'm trying to do something about it. I hope that many other people, millions of citizens, also do something about it. We should not just agonize, we should organize. Because like I said in a tweet I put out, I hope that, at the end of the day, Nigerian citizens will take the Ballon d'Or. The Ballon d'Or, the football prize. And I was wondering, it's not yet halftime in the life of a nation, but 61 years is not 61 days, and it's not 61 weeks. Many Asian countries have taken, in that period, become global economic powers. And I don't, I think it's just sad that we are where we are, divided, poor, frustrated, and seemingly unable to take ourselves out of the hole in which we've dug ourselves. But I believe that there is still hope for Nigeria. But you see, hope is not a strategy. The citizens of Nigeria must take certain actions for Nigeria's promise to be fulfilled. And there's no other way out than to elect the kind of leadership that has the vision, the capacity, and the competence to take Nigeria into the 21st century. There's no way out. When we spend all our time just playing politics, but we're not focused on governance, we worship our politicians. And we confuse ourselves by thinking that politics and governance are the same thing. So we're all politics, but no governance. And that's why the quality of life in Nigeria is very, very poor indeed. So in our next elections, Nigerians should be focused on who at every level can give us better governance, not just those who have the money or those who are big politicians. That's why we are where we are.
Now, you started off, the moment I asked this question, you said something very striking, which is worldview.
Yeah.
Now, you talked about worldview. The Germans will call it the Weltanschauung. And
Yes.
now, if you look at it from the dialectical and the philosophical angle, it means the worldview of what underpins us.
The society, yes.
So, if I may ask, do you think that there are various worldviews
Yes.
encapsulated in one in Nigeria? And if that be so, how do you unbundle it to drive in certain direction without pulling in various directions?
Yes. I mean, there are several worldviews, but they're all clashing. That's the point. These worldviews are clashing views. And not only are they clashing views, they are small views. So we become like crabs in a basket, trying to pull each other down. That's not what a worldview is. A worldview is inculcated to all the citizens. And most people, if not all the citizens, believe it, agree with it, and work towards it. It's a value system. It's an ambition. It's a philosophical foundation that must exist for a country to become a nation, and for a nation that has developed from being a country to thrive and be successful. So today in Nigeria, you find a certain worldview. How are you, my brother? And the guy says, I'm surviving. Now, this is not a worldview that can take you anywhere. So we lack ambition. And it seems as if Nigeria exists simply for the sake of existence. A country doesn't exist just to exist. A country exists to make life better for its citizens. You see, for the citizens in that country to work together to create success for all themselves. That's what we don't have in Nigeria. So people have this worldview of, oh, I'm surviving. Or this worldview of, oh, my ethnic group, my religion. Because no leader has come up to create a unifying worldview that can take Nigeria, into becoming like Malaysia or becoming like Israel or becoming like the United Arab Emirates, these kinds of countries, So that's my point. There are worldviews, but they are small views. They're not really worldviews. They're very small-minded, narrow, parochial views.
Sure, but how do you drive that main narrative? How do you then drive that main worldview in order to overtake all those minuscule worldviews?
That is the responsibility of the leader. You see, that is why, for example, in our system, you elect a president or a prime minister in another kind of system. There is no country in the world in which the worldview of that country that makes it successful is shaped by the citizens, without being driven by leadership. This is part of what leadership is about. The leader must have a vision. Where are you taking this country to? Trust me, we will get there. A leader takes you to where he thinks you need to be, not necessarily where you think you want to be. You see what I'm saying? Yes, so we all want certain things, but they're not necessarily what we need. So I believe that it is very possible to unite Nigeria to make it an economic success. The right kind of leader with the capacity. This thing comes from inside. You can't fake it. If you've been stealing government funds for 20 years as a politician and dancing on the podium and rigging elections, you cannot bring a worldview that can transform Nigeria. And that's the point. Do we want transformation? Or do we want to continue to live hand to mouth and just very low level of existence, surviving instead of thriving?
That is very, very interesting. Now, the next question then will be, having listened to you say this, and I look back since 61 years ago, or rather recently, does it mean that we do not have men of deep and great thinking who can do engage in this, I can call it a social construct,
social engineering?
Who does it mean that we lack that capacity to have men who can identify the things you basically said here, who can engage and make these things happen?
No, we don't lack men and women who can do this. The problem is that we as citizens allowed the wrong kinds of people to capture the state. That's the problem. And once they've captured the state, it's very difficult for them to let it go, except the citizens themselves also rise up democratically and remove them through the ballot box, since we're trying to be a democracy. So this is the problem. We have the capacity, we have the people, but no country can become more prosperous or more progressive than the competence or the incompetence of its highest elected political leadership. That is what drives a nation. The speed of the leader is the speed of the gang. If the leader is the wrong kind of person, the people who follow will operate at that wavelength. If the leader is transformational, if the leader is visionary, everybody around him rises to the level of the leader, because the leader pulls them up, because that's his or her job as a leader. That's the problem. So we have to get the right kind of people into political power so that we can re-engineer Nigerian society and the Nigerian economy and our national cohesion and our national security. If, for example, you believe that if you are an ethnic supremacist and the reason you're seeking political power is so that you or your ethnic group, you believe you have an entitlement to political power, the reason you're seeking political power is wrong. You're not seeking it to transform anybody's life. You're seeking it so that you can be comfortable on state resources, you and your friends and your cabals. No country can develop, and that's the situation in Nigeria today. No country can develop like that. You've got to have selfless people, because leadership must include, especially if it is to be transformative, it must be sacrificial. There must be the ability to make a sacrifice. What we call self-abnegation. Giving up opportunities to serve your own interest, and rather focus on the interest of the people. A friend of mine from Germany, I had a conversation with him on the phone the other day, and he gave me an education on the German political system. He told me that Angela Merkel, who is stepping down and is one of the longest serving chancellors of Germany, yes, if she continues until December, she will be the longest. She lives in a small apartment. Yeah, she lives in a small apartment in Berlin.
Yes.
And there's just one solitary policeman that moves around the block. She never mixes her private with the public. Never. She is so disciplined, and there's no mess. If you're around her, you simply cannot mess up. She has never invited anyone to her apartment. So this is the sort of leadership. This is somebody who is focused, and she's a woman. So, and he explained to me how in the political system, just 1 second. Yeah, how in the political system, the government finances the parties, so that this is just to avoid state capture. If you don't do that, if people are campaigning on their personal resources, the person who has the opportunity to corner the resources of the state, many people do not have the self-discipline to forego that temptation.
Yes, in Nigeria we call it having the war chest.
Exactly, having the war chest. And so you find the democratic environment is skewed, and it's skewed against the people themselves.
But it
Unfortunately, the people themselves celebrate this because they're not yet politically educated enough to
But it didn't
understand
start
that.
today. It didn't start today. If
I
you
know it's
remember,
a long
yeah,
story.
yeah,
Long story.
even during the time of Zeke and Awolowo,
Yes,
recent documentation shows that one of the reasons why Zeke actually discarded the margin with Awolowo then to form a government was because of what the British had on him on the ADB, I think. So
African
uh,
Continental Bank,
yeah,
ACB.
ACB, sorry. So when you look at it, you find out it's not something, because obviously some monies were commingled somewhat,
Yes,
to
yes,
finance party. So
yes,
it's been there. But the
yes, absolutely.
question is, it's how do we get the critical mass to be aware of this in order to walk away? Because again, that's if that doesn't happen, there is no hope.
Yes,
People must walk away from it in
yes.
order to own it.
Yes, people can walk away because if the people themselves are tired and fed up of their condition,
But are Nigerians really tired? I think
that's the
Nigerians are
question.
complaining without being tired.
Exactly, that's the $1 million question. You are organizing, but you're not organizing.
Taking action,
You're
exactly.
not taking action. So if you don't take action, your condition will never change. So I'm not interested. I am taking action. I'm not happy with what's happening, and I've offered myself to serve my country. That's a sacrifice, and we're doing it. Because it comes from my heart. But a lot of people will suffer in silence. So this surrender of agency, as I call it, this loss of power, disempowerment, we disempower ourselves. Oh, they will not let him get it. Oh, they are so powerful. Oh, they have the structure. But you are the structure. But you
Mhm.
cannot turn yourself into that structure. No, you're busy waiting for somebody to come and spoon feed you. It shows that you're not as serious about your welfare as you should be. So this is a big problem. So it's not just a leadership problem. The followers and the citizens also have an issue. And this goes into a lot of theories about race and racism. I believe that the transatlantic slavery of 500 years ago broke the spirit of Black people. I believe so. And that is why in many places you find them, they're simply not able to develop this worldview to transform themselves. And that slavery was then followed by colonialism, which made it even worse. You know, so this is it. Just hold on one second, please. I'm doing a lot of things while I'm talking to you.
Yes, I appreciate that. Okay, so viewers, before I bring back Professor Kingsley Moghalu there, who I've been speaking to, it's been it's a one-on-one, or basically, it's a conversation with him regarding the Nigeria's at 61 series that we have had all along. I've had a conversation with Dr. Philip Dewo, who is also
Just hold on one second, please. Just hold on one second. So sorry. I apologize.
yes. It's fine. So I think he will be back, and we will continue that conversation. Now, people, if you have any question you think you may wish to send to him, and if your question is within what we are talking about, yes, obviously I will take that question. Please, let's stay on topic. Again, I think he's back. Let me bring him back again. Professor, thank you for being with me once more. Now,
Sure.
um, obviously you've talked about this, but no, knowing that we have not much time now, can I quickly move on? And recently, Nigeria launched the E-naira, and someone obviously was trying to explain that to me. And I know many people watching today will think it's a cryptocurrency. I know you are against cryptocurrency, but
I'm
I
not.
can tell you.
I am not
Uh,
against cryptocurrency. No,
okay, so
I'm not.
you're not but you don't hold any Bitcoin, do you?
No, I don't. I don't.
I hold some.
Oh, that's very good. I think that's very nice. Yeah,
Well,
you're very
so
innovative.
So I hold a couple of this. But anyway, so having said that, the E-naira thing. Now, for someone who thinks this is obviously a cryptocurrency, some call it MMM. That's one of the things I did call it when I understood nothing about it. So how do you explain that to the individual, what that's all about?
Well, you see, the E-naira is a response to cryptocurrency. And the controversy of cryptocurrency. It's not new to Nigeria. In Nigeria, it's not just Nigeria. In many countries around the world, central banks are very distrustful of cryptocurrencies because they don't go through the central banking system. They are not fiat money. And so the governments cannot control it. So naturally, what many central banks are trying to do is to create digital currencies that people can also use if they're dissatisfied for whatever reason with using paper money or just electronic transfers and things like that. So it's an attempt to wean people off crypto, which is speculative, and nobody knows what its real underlying value is other than human psychology. You see what I'm saying? But your fiat currency is backed by the full faith and credit of the government. So this is what the E-naira is about. But here's the problem. The reason many young people do crypto transactions or investments in Nigeria is for stability, because the Naira has fundamental problems. It's suffering from a lot of devaluations. It's suffering from a lot of inflation. And so young people feel, many of whom have no jobs, and they found an innovative way of creating some wealth for themselves through some investments and in a digital world. So this is why I'm not against cryptocurrency. And I think it should be managed properly and the risks should be contained. But I don't believe in banning it or no, because let me tell you that when paper currency was created in the 11th century in China, under the Yuan dynasty, it was the first paper currency in the world. That was a massive innovation. And I can imagine the way people would have been looking at paper notes 1,000 years ago. It's just the same way that many of us look at cryptocurrency today. What is that? Which one is this one again? But it gained currency. And that's why the Chinese currency is called the yuan, because it was founded under the Yuan dynasty, So crypto is part of the continuing spirit of innovation in the world. And we have to find a way to adapt to it, manage it, control it, protect our national interest. Yes, I understand. And that's part of why you have this E-naira. But the problem is that you still have the underlying problem.
So that's the next question. That's the next question I'm going to ask, because that E-naira is still benchmarked against Naira as fiat currency, isn't it?
Exactly, it is.
So why would I? Okay, let me.
Well, some people just love to operate digitally. I got to tell you.
Well, but obviously, I can't remember the last time I went to bank either to withdraw or pay money. Everything is done digitally. So is that not still digital money? So,
well, but it's digital money of a different kind. Yes, it's.
Where could it be used?
Well, it can be used in transactions that the central bank permits.
Exactly.
They were supposed to launch it this today, I think, but they've postponed it.
Yeah, so, well, like they postponed the Nigerian Airways or Air Nigeria. Everything about Nigeria appears to be in
postponed.
Nigeria itself appears to be postponed as well in terms of development.
Yeah, anyway. It would have been so funny if it were not so tragic, because this is the lives of people that we are talking about.
Exactly.
And that's why I say we have nothing to celebrate at 61 years of
exactly. It sounds like a joke. We gone to Fambro in the United Kingdom. We launched an airline on PowerPoint. It flew on PowerPoint, landed on PowerPoint, crashed on PowerPoint.
But you see, we have a worldview. A worldview has 7 components. I don't want to go too deep into this. But it has the element of where are we coming from and where are we going. Who are we in the world, and what is our relationship with the world around us? This is the same reason why you will find the white man will see an object and become curious and want to conquer and to know more about that object. For example, going to the moon. Many black people will look at the moon and say, wow, it looks so mysterious, and they will form a religion around it and start worshiping it. So because it's mysterious, but the white man is curious. So that whole idea of where are we coming from, where are we going, how are we going to get there, what is the value system that underpins our worldview, what is the theory of action, or what we call today strategy, how do we realize these national ambitions. So that's the reason. And part of realizing these national ambitions is about organization. Just being able to organize is a problem for a lot of African countries. So they talk a lot, but the discipline of organization, everybody putting their shoulder to the wheel, is weak. So this is the problem. So people love to talk, they make PowerPoints and all this, but vested interests will always triumph over the national interest in Nigeria. And that's because the political leadership.
Now, let me move, the next question will be on the controversy and we woke up one day, we heard that Aboki FX, a mere website where people go to look up, what's obviously how is the currency trading when people want to send money or exchange money when they want to receive money. Now, that controversy, we saw the CBN governor come in, say that that is banned, that he doesn't think, or he should tell us where he goes to find how he benchmarks whatever price he publishes. And that made people like me actually say, well, the real Aboki on the street that does not need a website to benchmark his own price of how much he sells the dollar that he has in his hands.
It's a matter of supply.
Exactly. So looking at that, do you think, that was actually a good strategy to have made that noise and banned something, obviously, that needed not to be banned?
Well, I would only say that we should learn to stop chasing shadows and that we should focus on what our real problems are. I believe in the root cause approach to solving national problems. The root cause of the Naira's travails and Naira's problems come from the fact that Nigeria does not have a productive economy that exports value-added goods and earns forex, across a diversified base of products. We rely a lot on oil for over 90% of our foreign exchange. When the price of oil, sneezes, we catch pneumonia, or sometimes we catch COVID. So this is what is happening. So the foreign reserves, which underpin the value of the Naira, are constantly being buffeted by the demand and supply equations, of this oil revenue and dollars. We are an import economy, so everybody's looking for dollars to import, and the demand by far outstrips supply.
But there's been so many interventions by CBN as to
the interventions, I'm sorry to say, have not worked. I mean, I think that's obvious to everybody. So they haven't worked because the fundamental issues are not being addressed. The fundamental issues are outside the CBN. And so this habit of the government looking up to the CBN to do everything under the sun, it's wrong, because the CBN is overstretched, and the CBN has also, to some extent, not exercised its independence from the government. And so politicians have their views, like President Buhari. He issued a statement once saying that he's ordering the CBN, that he has directed the CBN. And I put out a statement. I said, President Buhari, stop directing the CBN. Any investor looking at that language will not come into your economy. Because what he knows immediately is that this is not a place where institutions are allowed to be independent. But do the people in political power understand these things? No, obviously. Or
it's akin to Boris Johnson directing the head of Bank of England.
The governor of the Bank of England. What a joke. It cannot happen.
It's just like this.
When President Trump tried to push Jay Powell around, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, and for him to take decisions that Trump wanted, they had to remind him that, the Federal Reserve is an independent institution. They don't take orders from the White House. And it has to be so for the economy to be very well managed. Otherwise, rational economic decisions will be thrown away and political decisions will replace them, and the problems will continue. That's what we have in Nigeria.
Okay.
The Nigerian economy is run in the service of vested interests, one. Two, the government itself is killing the Nigerian economy because it is too involved in it. It's too controlling. It wants to determine the price of everything. The market has a dynamic. And you've got to, create a dynamic that is efficient. That's what you should do. And the government should then oversee the market to make sure, for example, that the interests of the average people are protected and you don't have some smart, sharp Alec gaming the system. That's the purpose of regulation. Because there will always be sharp practice. Capitalism, is in tune with human nature. But like Winston Churchill said about democracy, it is the worst economic system except for all the rest.
Okay, so do you think there is anything Nigeria could do or the leadership could do to at least, I don't know, but do you think there is anything on this planet Earth that could be done to get...
The leadership is operating from a certain worldview. That worldview is a mental block to the leadership being able to do the things that will set the Nigerian economy on the right path. That's the problem. It's all about the mind. As a man thinketh, so is he. As a woman thinketh, so is she. So when you have a certain way of seeing the world or seeing power, when you believe that power has no constitutional checks, when you believe that no institution can be independent when you are the president, then you're setting the stage for a bad economy. Because you will continue to interfere thinking you're doing the right thing or in the service of whatever vested interest you think you're helping, but the masses will continue to suffer. So many crimes are committed in the name of the masses, in the name of the poor. The same thing with petroleum subsidy and all of these things. It's all nonsense. It's a massive fraud. President Buhari himself said that petroleum subsidy is a fraud. He came to power and continued with the fraud. So what are we talking about?
Well, enabler then. So obviously what you're saying is, do you have a clear mapped out plan that if elected the president, do you have a timeline that Nigerians could see these things drastically reduced?
Well, the timeline for anybody elected president in Nigeria is 4 years. And that's you're elected for a term of office of 4 years. So you assess me at the end of 4 years. But we will have a strategy such that by end of year one, we will be at a certain point. By end of year two, we'll be at a certain point. I don't want to get too specific because I don't want to. I'd rather under-promise and over-deliver than over-promise and under-deliver.
So you don't, obviously, you're not into the game of 100 days in office, 200 days in office. These are, obviously these are...
You can do that. I mean, within 100 days, there are certain things I expect to have achieved as president of Nigeria. Within 100 days, the government is set up. We're not going to take 6 or 7 months to form a cabinet. My cabinet will be formed within 2 to 3 weeks of my being.
And when you relieve a minister, you would also replace that immediately, not waiting for 6 months to replace.
Of course, there will be performance management. I'm going to have 4 units in my office that will drive governance. The first is strategy. The second is risk management. The third is performance management. The fourth is talent management. This is how you govern. It's called strategic governance. And you govern like it's a corporation. And you're looking at targets and things you must achieve by a certain time. Because you have 4 years. So you want to make a certain impact before that 4 years is up.
So do you think if elected president that we might see dollar eventually come back at where it was in 2015 before the current government took over?
I will tell you that what I would do as president of Nigeria is to create an environment where the central bank, and I would, we would appoint competent and qualified people for these roles. The central bank will do its job professionally. As president, it's not for me to dictate the price of the naira to the dollar. That, managing that whole issue is the job of the central bank governor. So, but if you find the right kind of governor, and, when the term of the current person is up and you interview people, you will be asking certain questions. What is your philosophical view about managing the Nigerian economy, monetary policy, about forex policy, and all sorts of things? This is how you select people. You don't select people because they serve a particular vested or special interest. The economy will suffer.
So what's okay, quickly, let's speed it up. Quickly, what's your view on the VAT?
The VAT is what is happening is predictable. It is restructuring by fire by force. when the VAT was enacted and all of that, it was not meant to be going to the federal government. But the federal government in Nigeria, using the military complex, always acquires as much powers as it can. And today, the states are rebelling. Many states are saying these things belong to us under the Constitution. The Constitution made VAT a residual matter. It was never part of the exclusive list, and therefore it's a residual matter. So, therefore, the Governor Wike and some of the other governors of Lagos State, and others that are trying to, they're correct, basically, But all these things could have been sorted out if there had been a proper constitutional conference to create a new constitution for Nigeria that actually works and can help Nigerian states and different regions to grow and develop. But the federal government today resists that. Instead, they want to do a panel beating job and tell us that they have reviewed the constitution. No.
So what are you saying now? If by 2023 you're elected president, are you going to, within which timeline, give Nigerians new constitution?
I believe that within 2 years of my election as president, we should have been able to. It's not the president who restructures the country. It's a legislative function. What the president
can drive it.
Yeah, the president can influence it by showing that from the bully pulpit that he supports it, that it's part of his vision. And it is definitely part of my vision to have a proper federalism in Nigeria. Because the unitary system, in reality, that we're working with is failed. It has failed. It's not working. But if you give it a 2-year time frame of 24 months, my ambition as president is to leave office less powerful than when I entered, so that Nigeria can grow and Nigeria's people can achieve prosperity. For me, that is the end game. It's not about myself.
Okay, so recently, a former colleague of yours, in the person of Dr. Meilafia, died.
Yes.
And obviously, it's a man that we've met in a couple of forums. His death has been surrounded by, some, conspiracy theories flying around surrounding his death. And many said it's COVID, and many said it's obviously because he spoke out. What is your take?
My take is very straightforward. First of all, Dr. Obadiah Meilafia's death is a big, big loss for our country. He was a brilliant man. He was philosophical. He understood political economy. He was also a courageous man. He stood up a lot for the Middle Belt region and felt that they were being treated badly by some of the ethnic nationalities, and he spoke out against that. But in terms of why he died, that is a matter that should be investigated by an autopsy. We shouldn't be too quick to judge. Everybody, we will all die, and so, I know what people say, the bird cried at night, the child died in the morning, and people have those kinds of mindsets. I'm not excluding any possibility, but I think it should be evidence-based. That's the point. I think they should go and do a proper autopsy of him. I've heard that he had COVID, and all of that. So it may have been a health thing, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know. It's the family that is in the best place to know that.
And recently, 2 days ago, I didn't know if you saw the video, we lost Dr. Chike Akunyelu, husband to late Dora Akunyelu. Now, obviously, and 3 days ago, to be precise, on Monday, or rather over the weekend, your hometown, Nnewi, saw 2 people being shot dead. Now, obviously, there is a heightened political activities happening in the state of Anambra. So far, in the last 1 week, over 12 people have died in a week, which is unprecedented. And because in Anambra, people normally say that Anambra engage in politics of Ebono, not in the politics of Eloaka. And if Anambra, that all of us knew and understood that they engage in the politics of Ebono, how come these ugly incidents are beginning to rear up its head in our state? And what's your take? And what can government do to stop it?
I condemn strongly and unequivocally any violence in any part of Nigeria, whether it's in Borno State or in Anambra State. We condemn political assassinations. We condemn terrorism. I condemn terrorism in all its forms. But I think that this is part of the challenge that the state of Nigeria is facing, the Nigerian state, where you have a lot of non-state actors now taking space because the Nigerian state is increasingly too weak to hold sway. And people are going to be forced to move more and more into self-defense because the state cannot protect them. And that's the first law of the state, or the first duty of the state under the Constitution of Nigeria 1999, that the Nigerian state should, secure the security, maintain the security and welfare of the Nigerian citizen. So it's very disappointing. Too, I'd like to say that the Nigerian political leaders from the Southeast should take a big lesson. I think that they are mainly culpable for what is happening in the Southeast today, because many of them have not, the perception is that many of them are not there for the people. The way that the Southwest governors, even those who belong to APC, they came together and formed Amoteco to protect their people. But the Southeast, they promised us a Ifekaego. I haven't ever seen them. So this question of talking and not doing, this question of waffling and shuffling, and people always looking over their shoulder. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of?
But hold on. Is Ifekaego actually the, well, people say that Amotekun is almost an important entity, but
some
now
people say
Amotekun,
psychological effect.
Well, Amotekun, now the question then is, if we look at it this way, isn't that the failure of the system where you have now a third party to come in to offer these services that the police, if we have state police, are we going to be having this conversation?
There is no question about it. It's part of state failure. But the fact of the matter is that people must protect themselves one way or the other. Nature abhors a vacuum. So the state is failing to protect its citizens, and people are looking for other solutions, from third parties and all of that. So I think the Igbo political elite has not lived up to their responsibility to their constituents. There's no question about that. And some other actors have stepped in and filled the vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum. But what I would also say is that in trying to supposedly protect the interests of the Igbos, those other actors should also understand that they should not, now act against the interests of the Igbos. So this is what people have to understand. If you nail yourself to a cross and somebody is hammering a nail into it, and you say that you're making a point against President Buhari, I'm not sure how wise that is. You are the one bleeding, and you're the one who will die. Buhari will come for your funeral. So, assuming he shows up. So we need to rethink the way these things. People have a legitimate right to protest, but it should not be violent.
Now,
violence should not be condoned.
I'll leave you with this last question, because obviously I can see you must leave now.
Yes,
my last question is, now, if elected the president of Nigeria come 2023, within which time frame would you bring all agitators, all those who say they no longer want to be part of Nigeria, to speak to them? And if at all, will you speak to them, and under which time frame will you do that?
Now, when I become the president, we must first of all establish confidence of Nigerians in the Nigerian entity. And the way to do that is to begin from day one, to be seen to be fair. You see, this is what happens. It's the absence of fairness. It's the absence of equity and justice that is breeding these secessionist agitations. And even a former military head of state, Abdul Salami Abubakar, recently said so. And that has always been my position all along, that you cannot say Nigeria has to be a united, indivisible, and indissoluble country without addressing the root causes of the agitations. You have to. That's what leadership requires of you. But if you ignore it, and instead you're busy reading the law or what you think is the constitution to people, it's counterproductive. So, as president of Nigeria, I will establish confidence in Nigeria as an entity and as a state, treat people fairly, different groups, different personalities and ethnic nationalities. There will be no favoritism. And that's one of the things that's one of the ways you can reach out to people and say, stop what you're doing. It's against the interest of the country. And of course, if you don't, then the state must protect itself. So, but first there will be carrots before the stick.
Stick. Obviously, thank you very much, Professor Kingsley Moghalu. That's a very fine place to leave it. It
Thank
has
you.
been my pleasure to have this conversation with you. I do believe that in course of time we will have more relaxed, less tensed atmosphere to have
Yes, sure.
further conversation. Thank you very much for being part of this
Thank you.
program.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you very
for
much.
that.
So, thank you very much once more. That has been a conversation with Professor Kingsley Moghalu, and this has been Nigeria at 61 series, a conversation with Professor Kingsley Moghalu, a political economist, 2023 presidential aspirant. He is a lawyer, an author, and goes by the title Ifekaego one of Nnewi, that is, that which is greater than money, of Nnewi Kingdom. He was the former, or rather, a former United Nations official and also a former deputy Central Bank of Nigerian governor and also a politician. People, it has been um, a very fantastic evening listening to him, his worldview, as the Germans would say, Weltanschauung. Again, join me this week also on Monday. I think the interview I will be having with the Pastor Adelaja is going to be moved forward, and we will be having that, and more such conversation will be happening. Obviously, I cannot neglect you watching me today to have your say. I want you, the same way I have had this conversation with Professor Kingsley Moghalu, to also join me in the next 30 minutes. We will do and we will have Friday hangout with Maazi, okay? But today is going to be a different Friday hangout. The hangout is going to be you are going to call in, you are going to join me in the studio to talk about Nigeria, if Nigeria has failed you, if Nigeria has been good to you. Now, let's have a break for 30 minutes. Please stay tuned whenever the notification comes on once more that you should click and join me in that conversation. See you shortly in a moment. I am still Maazi Ezeoke. Please, if you haven't, subscribe to this platform. Click on the bell icon for notification so that when I come in again, you have a notification saying it is show time.